How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the now viral video that Deadspin released, which features a bunch of local news anchors denouncing fake news in a uniform way, reading from the same script. The way Deadspin put it out was like they're brainwashing you, they're trying to send propaganda, this, that, and the third. But the reality is that this memo that they were reading from, or the script, whatever you want to call it, came from their parent company in Sinclair Media. A lot of the left, a lot of the lamestream media, as I call them, they're upset about this because they think that Sinclair Media is pro-Trump. They have conservative points of view. They're trying to push so-called right-wing propaganda onto the masses of people in the U.S. They are the largest local news company in the nation with over 190 stations. They're trying to acquire Tribune Media to become even larger. So I think the established media feels threatened by this, which is why they're talking about it. But before we even go into all of the Trump stuff, all the reactions to the video and everything else, what I'm gonna do right now is go ahead and show you the video. I will not play the entire thing here, but I will place the entire thing in the box below. But I'll play enough so you get the general gist of what's happening. After we get done with the video, I'll talk about all those aforementioned things and wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
The sharing of biased and false news
has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Okay, so you're able to see what's going on. You see that now. This is not really that serious. It's a nothing burger. But like I said, the left, they feel threatened. They feel like it's Trump speaking through Tribune Media, who is speaking through their news anchors to try and attack them. But it's not even really like that. When I first saw this, I didn't even know that anybody would try to say that it was a right-wing type of thing, because I would think everybody would like to have news that is actually real and not fake. Because when I turn on CNN, ABC, NBC, Fox, or whatever, I want to know that I'm getting a real story, that they're not editorializing so much to where it takes away from what the story actually is. I've read a lot about this particular incident here with the Tribune Broadcasting Group employees at the local news stations reading the script, but I've not seen anything about the story in its totality. We'll talk about that in a little while. What I have seen is people talking about, oh, I felt like I was a POW reading the message, but you're not. If you work at a place, you're there voluntarily. You can leave. You could do whatever you want to do. You're not a prisoner of war. You're an employee doing a thing that you might not like to do. That's business, okay? People go to their jobs every day and they do things they don't want to do. But guess what? That's what you get paid for. Do it or don't, but I digress. The outlets we're talking about this, mostly left, they're not giving you the full story, which is proving the point of the message. Some of them are kind of honest and said that this same thing was done last year, but instead of the anchors themselves reading the script, it was the CEO or some high-level official who recorded it himself and then gave the tape to all the stations to play, and that was mandatory. And like I said, most of these lefty outlets that are giving you the story are not telling you the full story. The whole fake news thing is not necessarily Donald Trump's exclusively. It was started by Hillary Clinton, and I remember how it started. I was covering the election in 2016 on my channel, and before that, 2015, I looked at everything that was done, every speech, every word, every popular phrase. I was on it. I remember talking about this right when it happened. Check this out.
Let me just mention briefly one threat in particular that should concern all Americans, Democrats, Republicans, and independents alike, especially those who serve in our Congress. The epidemic of malicious fake news and false propaganda that flooded social media over the past year. It's now clear that so-called fake news can have real-world consequences. This isn't about politics or partisanship. Lives are at risk. Lives of ordinary people just trying to go about their days, to do their jobs, contribute to their communities. It's a danger that must be addressed, and addressed quickly. Bipartisan legislation is making its way through Congress to boost the government's response to foreign propaganda, and Silicon Valley is starting to grapple with the challenge and threat of fake news. It's imperative that leaders in both the private sector and the public sector step up to protect our democracy, to protect our democracy, to protect our democracy and innocent lives.
So what you see right there is Hillary Clinton in December of 2016 giving the speech on fake news specifically. This happened after the whole Pizzagate kerfuffle. Remember that? The whole thing about Pizzagate, everybody was convinced about what it was, and the guy decided to go from his house to the actual place, and he had a gun and fired it in the actual restaurant. So she was saying that fake news caused him to go out there and do that because of all these conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And speaking about conspiracy theories, the left, the lamestream media is against so-called fake news as well, but they disguise it. They don't say fake news because they know that they have successfully been able to shift the fake news label away from being owned by Hillary Clinton and now being owned by Trump. So they make fun of the whole fake news thing, but they always say stuff like conspiracy theories, unfounded claims, false claims. They say all these things around what they're trying to say, but they're saying the same thing. A conspiracy theory, like if you call Alex Jones a conspiracy theorist, why not call him a pusher of fake news? You don't want to do that because you've now given that to Trump, so you can't use it anymore for yourself. So this whole thing, trying to be holier than thou, talking about, oh, well, fake news, anybody that's against or anybody that says fake news is a Trump supporter, which is at this point a pejorative term, but I digress. If anybody that says anything about fake news is a Trump supporter, then what about you who use synonyms for that exact same phrase? It doesn't make any sense to me, but it does make sense because they are trying to just have the narrative be one way. They use different words for the same thing. They assign words to themselves. You can explain to somebody how they are the same word. It doesn't even really matter because all they know is what they associate with somebody. They say fake news is a thing that people use as an excuse, and then when the real story is put out and it's just easily dismissed as a conspiracy theory, then they say, well, that's not the same as calling it fake news. It's dumb, but at the end of the day, I totally get it, and that's pretty much all I got. So what do you think? Do you think that this story here from Deadspin is nothing burger? Do you think they're trying to shield away from the fact that Hillary Clinton was the first one to talk about fake news? I remember it. Like I said, I covered it in 2016, 2015. I covered the whole election. And before that, I was following the 2012 election very closely and the 2008 election, which before I close here, I got to say this. People don't want to associate the whole fake news thing to Hillary Clinton, although she's on camera giving the speech in December 2016. She started it. It's the same way they don't want to talk about her camp, not her specifically, but her camp in 2008, starting the whole birtherism kerfuffle. Remember that? I watched the 2008 election very closely. I was a young man in my early 20s, but I remember it very, very closely. I remember all of what went on. I remember some of the back end stuff you wouldn't see on the regular normie news. And I remember somebody from her campaign, I forget who it was. If you remember, let me know in the comments below. But they floated the idea out there about, well, maybe he's not born in America. Maybe he's the king and this, that, and the third. Because remember, at that particular point in time, they were battling to get a nomination. And we see what Hillary Clinton is going to do to win a nomination. She slonged Bernie this time. She was trying to do the same thing in 2008, but Barack Obama was so strong, it didn't even really matter. Here you have a black male, handsome guy, nice family, and they're ready for a change. They want a liberal in there against a basic potato on the other side. What was that? McCain and Sarah Palin, total potato. I like Sarah Palin, but John McCain, a potato. It was an easy victory for him, and I don't think America was ready for a female president, nor were they ready for another Clinton. So Barack Obama had the perfect timing. She could not successfully overtake him, although she put things out there like the birtherism stuff, not, like I said, directly from her, but from somebody in her camp. All Trump did was take that and take it to the moon. The same thing he did with the whole fake news thing. Hillary started it on camera, and you saw the video. I didn't make it up, and I'll put a link to that in the box below. This is a real video. He took that and took it to the moon. So why is it that none of the fake mainstream media outlets, why is it that none of them are reporting that part of it? They want to say that anybody trying to reel against fake news is a Trump supporter. They support Trump. They're trying to push conservative principles on everybody's throat, but they won't say how their liberal organizations push liberal narratives all day long. Transgenderism, homosexuality, all that kind of crazy stuff that they want to push. If you want to be an attack helicopter, whatever, that's fine. If you want to be gay, that's fine. But don't tell me that these stations are not trying to push that as part of their whole narrative. Yes, they are. They don't want you to know that. They don't want to come out there and say what they're doing. They'll accuse the other side of doing it and say they're the bad guy because they're trying to push propaganda. Meanwhile, they're doing the exact same things they accuse the other side of doing. But I'm going a little bit too long here. Whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.